Hello, and welcome to this demonstration on how to start a web project. This demonstration will cover the organization of our web projects, including the naming conventions for folders and files. We will also introduce some tools here that you may or may not be familiar with, including the terminal, also known as the console, and VS Code, which is an integrated development environment. First things first, let's look in our Documents folder, and I am working on a Mac computer, and this is the Mac Finder. Those of you on Windows machines will probably be using Windows File Explorer. Work roughly the same, just a little bit difference in where the buttons are and what you click to make things happen. Now, inside of our Documents folder, we are going to create a new folder for our web projects. You will notice that I am using lowercase for the naming convention, and instead of a space or an underscore, I'm using a dash. Those are the conventions for HTML and CSS web projects. Lowercase with dashes in place of spaces. Please do not use underscores or spaces in your folder or file names, and please keep everything lowercase. So our Finder or Windows File Explorer gives us a view into the files in our computer. In this case, our Documents folder has an empty web projects folder inside of it. We're also going to be using the terminal for our web projects. The terminal, also known as the console or the command line interface, is a way for us to also access the files and folders on our computer. The major difference is that the terminal is a text-based interface, while Mac Finder and Windows File Explorer are graphical user interfaces. But as we can see here, I can change the directory over to my Documents folder, and I can list out with the command ls and see the folders and files inside of my Documents folder. So looking inside of the computer at its files, Mac Finder is the graphical user interface to do that, and the terminal is the text-based interface for doing that. So now we've got a place for our web projects to live. Let's go ahead and create a folder for my-first-web-project. It'll be very, very, very important for you to have folders set up for each of your web projects. There is redundancy in some of the file names, and things can get a little bit messy, so it's very important to have organization from the very beginning. I recommend using the Documents folder, creating a folder for your web projects, and then an individual folder for each project with a meaningful name. So now we can change the directory over to our web projects folder. List out those files and folders again, and we'll see here is my folder for my first web project. We'll be using a tool like Visual Studio Code or another integrated development environment for our web projects. In this case, we'll work with Visual Studio Code, and this does just give us another way to access the files and folders on our computer. So we will File, Open Folder, and we will open up the web projects, My First Web Project. Here we have the option for creating folders and files from the graphical user interface, and most web projects start with an index.html file. So I hit the button to create a new file and type index.html. The iconography here of the less than sign and greater than sign is meant to represent HTML tags, so that iconography lets me know that this is an HTML file. After that, we will create a CSS folder. You'll notice I'm doing this lowercase, but sometimes you will see the CSS folder actually written in uppercase. Inside of this folder, I'm going to create a style.css file. And the iconography here is using the octothorpe, which is also known as the hashtag or the pound sign, number sign. This is just the visual indicator of a CSS file. After this, we're going to create one more folder, and this folder, want to make sure that we click outside of any folders that we have created. And now our folder for our images is created. You will also see this name sometimes as IMG. You will also sometimes see the name of the images folder capitalized, similar to the CSS folder. The convention is typically, if you're going to capitalize one, you'll capitalize both. For new web projects, we recommend that those are all lowercase, and right now your images folder will remain empty. These are the starting files and folders that you will need for a web project: an index.html file, a style.css file inside of a CSS folder, and then an images folder where you will store your images. If we look now at our folders and files inside of our Mac Finder or Windows File Explorer, we will see that we are now able to access those same files from Mac Finder or Windows File Explorer. We can also access those files if we change the directory here to My First Web Project and list out those files in the terminal. We can see these folders and files in the terminal. So the best way to explain this is that our web projects, the folders and files that we create, are stored on our computer. We have multiple ways of accessing these files. We can see them in our traditional Mac Finder or Windows File Explorer view, which is the graphical user interface. We can also access and manipulate these files using the terminal or console command line interface. But primarily, we're going to be creating, accessing, updating, managing these files using Visual Studio Code or another integrated development environment. All of these tools point to the same files. They're just different ways of accessing them. Hope you found this demonstration valuable. Have a great day.